But this is a story of a friend of mine whose son fell in Gaza. It was his firstborn son, and his name was Ephraim Jackman, or in English, Ephraim Jackman. He was a marvelous boy. Marvelous isn't the word. The Jackman family have children that are really aligned with my children, but Ephraim was 2 years older than my oldest. So I knew him the least, but he was always sort of there. But I love the Jackman family. When I lived in Neve Daniel, we had Shabbat meals together. They're originally from England. They made Aliyah. And the quote at the end, we made a beautiful slide, but just to kick this off, they found his journal after he passed, and he wrote this, I don't know how long before he was taken from this world. And he wrote it after kitchen duty in the army. So you could imagine as he's scrubbing dishes where his mind was. I want to live a life of greatness with shining ideals, where everything is clear and there's no emptiness inside, that God illuminates a great light in the soul that is thirsty for blue, that is turquoise, that is like the ocean and the throne of glory. And in Hebrew, it's amazingly poetic, although that's quite beautiful poetry as well. The Hebrew, it's beyond. And so Ephraim Jackman, when I went to his funeral, um, his rabbi, got up and he quoted this verse from the book of Samuel in chapter 16 that sort of introduces David onto the scene. And it says, and one of the lads answered and said, here I saw a son of Ishai from Bethlehem. He's a musician, a hero of a soldier and a man of war, a wise one and a beautiful person, and Hashem is with him. And here I saw Ephraim Jackman. He's a musician, a hero of a soldier and a man of war, a wise one and a beautiful person, and Hashem is with him. And that's how they described him. Ephraim played the piano like another level, but he also played the guitar and the drums and the flute, and he was just a musician. He had a harmonica in his armed vehicle in Gaza with him. And as a boy, when he was younger, before his bat mitzvah, he finished all of Shas Mishnayot, all of the oral Torah of the Mishnayot, twice before his bar mitzvah. But he didn't ever want to show off. So usually a part of a bar mitzvah celebration is to celebrate what you've learned in honor of your bar mitzvah. So he just took this family to the Kotel in the old city of Jerusalem, and they celebrated as a family because he didn't want to show up all of his friends how much more he learned than all of them. It's so much more. It's beyond so much more. To finish all of the oral Torah, all of Shas Mishnayot twice by your bar mitzvah is another level. And you hear stories from, because I was there 5 days. I just collected these stories to understand more and more what young man he was. When he was in high school, they did a seminar about healthy eating and how healthy eating is really a part about living a godly life. And from that point on, he stopped eating any processed sugar, and he would started eating spelt bread and the healthiest types of food. But he was kind of a person that if all of the guys around him were like kind of snacking on junk food, so he wouldn't like be sort of condescending about it. When Tehila was in high school, we were still friends and she was a vegetarian. And I remember one time we're all like eating steaks together and she's like, the cows really suffered for those steaks. And I'm like, Tehila, can't you just wait until after we're done? You're like ruining the meal. Why do you have to be like that? Ugh. And so like he wouldn't do that. He would just like take one piece of like the unhealthy food just to be with his friends, like to be with them, to never feel like he was above them, to never show off. And when he left the house at 18, he called all of his brothers and sisters every Friday, spent 2 hours on the phone, just calling them. Such a family man, such a young man, but so focused around his family. And when you heard the brothers and sisters at the eulogies, you just saw how much they admired him. What a role model he was for them. Just the whole family was just like, you hear it from his rabbis, from his commanders, from his officers, and you just can't believe it. And one of the brothers said, I remember when we were younger, you used to get angry a lot. And somehow you just fixed your midot, you fixed your attributes. I haven't seen you angry in years. And his father told me that when he first started high school, he had to get up early in the morning or he'd miss his bus. And the first year of high school, he missed the bus so many times. But by the time he was in yeshiva about to go into the army, they gave him the keys to the study hall in Yeshivat Yerucham because he was the first one in the study hall every single day before the sunrise. And somehow Ephraim continued to work on himself and fix himself until he became the most marvelous Jew that I've encountered in years. And, you know, um, in his free time, what did he do aside from playing beautiful music? He loved the land of Israel. So he would organize hikes for him and his family. There was never just like bumming around. It was constantly like just going after life, loving the Torah and loving the land. And when his rabbis were describing him, the first one every day in the study hall, in the Beit Midrash, and when he was learning, he just loved the Torah, shining light, just happiness. Everyone that learned with him was uplifted because he was such a wonderful person to be around, so optimistic, so happy, so joyful. And you heard about stories that when he was in the IDF, no one likes to do kitchen duty. Kitchen duty is the worst. I'm still traumatized from kitchen duty. Your hands get all ripped up because you're just doing so many, it's endless dishes. So he would always volunteer to do the grossest of all the jobs, like to clean the pots that are like the most like horrible. He would always volunteer to do the things that no one else wanted to do. And when he was serving in Hawara, which is in the Shomron, which is one of the hotbeds of terror in Samaria, he didn't go through officers training course, but at one point they were just low on soldiers, and he was promoted to become an officer without going through officers training course. So he was operating as a soldier who had been through officers training course with about 3 years of experience, but his time in the army, he was only there for about a year. That's unheard of in the army. And so, with just a little bit more than a year of service in Hawara, that's not exactly an office job. He became a platoon commander, a mifaked machlaka befoal. And it's unbelievable. But what happened was he had a real dilemma. What about kitchen duty? On one hand, a katzin, an officer, never does kitchen duty. They have so many other meetings to go to. They have to meet with all the higher ups, and they're up, they never sleep. And kitchen duty, that's left for the soldiers. But he said, but I'm not really an officer. Maybe I should still do kitchen duty. What about my sleep? And maybe if I do kitchen duty, that will lower the honor of the rank that I'm supposed to hold right now. And he was going back and forth. What is the right thing to do? And this story happened as I'm watching the father, Shmuel, who never heard this story. And they said, well, what did he do? And he said he chose to do the dishes anyway. And the father was so happy to hear that story that even though he was the officer, he chose to do kitchen duty anyways. He was just so good, but to understand how good, in Gaza, in the middle of this war, he woke up before the sunrise to learn one daf of Gemara, because that's what he committed to do every single day. And in 7 years, he would have finished all the Talmud. And every day at 6 in the morning, while everyone was asleep, he was up praying with the sunrise so no one would disturb him. And he spent every day in the middle of battle learning daf yomi, learning a day of Talmud every single day. And he was awarded the Mitzdayen Pluga, which is the most valuable soldier in the battalion. That's out of like 150 soldiers to be selected as the MVP. It's like an award that very few ever get. And he received that award and no one knew. They only really found out after he died because he didn't want to show off. If I was awarded the Mitzdayen Pluga, that would be a bumper sticker on my car. That I would have a T-shirt that everyone should know. I am the most valuable soldier in the battalion. Nice to meet you. My name is Jeremy Gimpel. I'm the MVP. Everyone would know. That would be the best shtick in the world. He received one of the highest honors you can receive as a soldier in the IDF, and he didn't tell anyone because he didn't want to be haughty. He didn't want to be arrogant. He was just so truly humble. And he left this world in the most heroic way. He saved his officer's life by jumping ahead and seizing the terrorist with his automatic weapon. And his officer left the hospital on the hospital stretcher bed to come to his funeral because Ephraim Jackman saved his life. And so he left this world in the most heroic act of selflessness and heroism that could be. And when I think about that wish or that prayer that he wrote in his journal, if we could put that up on the screen, I want to live a life of greatness with shining, sparkling ideals where everything is clear and there's no emptiness inside. That God illuminates a great light in the soul that is thirsty for blue, that is turquoise, that is the ocean, that is the throne of glory. And to see that this young man had fixed his sleep, fixed his food, fixed his honoring his parents, fixed his love for his family, heroic, courageous, a scholar. What is that other than can you say, I saw a son, Ephraim Jackman. He's a musician, a hero of a soldier, and a man of war, a wise one, and a beautiful person, and Hashem is with him.